My mom was the one who told me this story, and apparently, judging by the way she said it, I'm the first one to ever know. A family secret, as they say. Personally, I think it's just one more rumor in the long list chaotic gossip that follows a person like my grandma. But what do I know? Considering the time, the place, and everything that Colombia used to be and still is to some degree. The protagonist is Uncle Alberto, my mom's uncle, a man she had never met, and my grandmother was the only person who knew him, quotation marks include. This must be around 1972, give or take. Uncle Alberto was a cop, not dirty, not a hero either, just a guy who earned his paycheck and scratched his belly at home. My mom told me there were two siblings, and my grandma was the youngest. Alberto was the oldest, the protector of the family after their father died in the army. He cared for their mother and his favorite, Amparo, my grandma. She was his princess, he used to say. He was almost 10 years older than her. Eventually, my grandma hit adulthood. She got rebellious, wanted more freedom, but Alberto was always breathing down her neck, keeping track of everything she did and everything she went. I supposed, and my mom insists, that his intentions were good. The society back then was steeped in misogyny, and on top of that, he was terrified that something might happen to her. She eventually had enough and told him to back off. Weeks later, she started dating a man, the kind of guy people in the neighborhood call bad news. And those neighborhoods, men, they knew everything. If someone slept with someone, if someone killed someone, the street knew it before the newspapers. Alberto knew this guy, the new boyfriend, Carlos. Everyone knew he was a mess, a drunk. Eventually, Amparo and Carlos moved in together, even though she tried to keep her distance. Alberto gave her a brotherly warning that if Carlos ever turned out to be the man that everyone say he would be better watch his back. Time passed. Carlos got fired from his construction job for being drunk. My grandma had to work 2 jobs, 14 hours a day, sweating her life away. And Carlos, he stayed at home, drinking and doing nothing. Alberto heard about this, and now, let me be clear, he always had an anger issue. He will explode at anything and had to have things his way. And being a cop in Colombia back then, he had absolutely freedom. So when the news reached him, he stormed into his sister's house and gave her an ultimatum. Carlos either found a job or there would be consequences. And well, Carlos did find a job, helping a local gang smuggle stuff across the border to Peru. Alberto found out, but he didn't get involved. Those were dangerous people, and at least Carlos was bringing in money. But with more money came more booze and more women. Eventually, my grandma had enough. She must be confront him because Carlos hit her, left her with a black eye. Of course, Alberto heard about it the next day. Let's keep reading here. Okay. Their mother depended on Alberto. She already had memory problems and couldn't take care of herself, but Alberto ignored that. He grabbed his machete and went straight to the bar to find Carlos. He attacked him from behind, swung the machete again and again until either he got tired or realized what he was doing. Carlos lost an eye, part of an ear, and because he tried to shield himself, half his hand and several fingers were cut off. That's probably when Alberto realized what was doing. Rumors spread fast. He had to leave the country immediately. 2 days later, the gang Carlos had worked for was already looking for him. Alberto never said goodbye to his mother. He didn't want to upset her. To my grandma, he said he would write or call as soon as he got to Ecuador. She waited for the letter or the call until the day she died. No one ever heard from Alberto again, and my grandma had to flee that town too, leaving her own mother behind to raise the baby she was carrying, my mother. So, well, as a Colombian person, I have many of these stories. In my family, the rage problems, the bad company, the bad environments, the violent environments. But there are three specific things that I would like to discuss about this story. The first one is, what does mean to really protect someone? Because in this case and in this mindset of being the man and being protecting, and of course Carlos was an asshole. He hit his girlfriend, the Alberto's sister, but I can get and I can understand why he will get that rage, that instinct to do something to him. We don't know until we are in those situations, and of course everyone reacts in a different way. But my point is, and this is something that my father told me and also army members told me, that the best way to protect someone is keep it the distance, being aware of the consequence, being aware of what is going to happen to these people, not just you getting your or keeping your proud of man or the person you are and thinking that that's the most important thing. Sometimes the most important thing, the best thing that you can do is take head down and find a smarter solution and see that there are fights you cannot win. Like Alberto probably disappear. Like we're talking about the all Colombia without restrictions, without a good control over criminal and crime situations and murder and stuff. So yeah, probably he disappeared. My grandpa disappeared back then. I never met him, and he was involved also with the wrong people, and well, he had that an ending that you can imagine. But yeah, it's about to maybe knowing your fights, but it's more thinking about the consequence. If you are by yourself and you want to, in this case, go and do that fight to the dude, knowing that his group, his gang is gonna go after you. If you are just by yourself, yeah. But in this case, his sister was depending on her staying in the city, was depending on it. She had to run away, and his mother died with dementia, being ill, being unable to take care about herself, and she died alone, probably without understanding too much, without getting why her kids aren't there or even remembering it or knowing how to eat anymore. So it's easy to say, oh, I will do this and I will do that, but it's healthy and it's good to keep in mind, because we never know when we're going to be in that kind of situation. Maybe not that physical, but about, I don't know, in a work environment, in a situation with your family that doesn't have to go to the limits, to the physical situations, but it's a matter of you understanding, if I do this and I go for my proud or I fight for it, or I have to be the tough one or the one that hits the stronger, what happened after? And what happened to the people around you and the people that you are taking care of and that cares about you? Because it's not just they got fucked up, he disappeared, so that probably was hurtful for their family, and especially for the grandma of this story, his little sister. So yeah, the first thing is, I think, yeah, it doesn't really mean to take care about someone, to think about someone. It's not just go straight to the point and fight. It's thinking what happened to that person after I do this, after I react in this way. Like, hold your horses and see, okay, I have this option, this option, this option. What happened in each option and how each option is going to affect this person. What is over me? Am I proud? How tough I am? Or how it's gonna be their lives after I do this? So is taking care about the jumps that you do. If you are just by yourself, I think it's better. You don't have to worry about that, just by yourself and what you think is right and what you want to do and how you want to die, maybe. But yeah, that's the first part, and this happened a lot especially back then, with this kind of tough man family member protecting. Like, yeah, you have to be protective, but you have to smart. Maybe the tough part of being the man there is eating shit in silence, swallowing your pride. In this case, taking his family far from the city and far from the dude, and just awful, but live it like that and keep the distance. But obviously, this person didn't think about that, and it is what it is. It's easy for me to say it because I wasn't in that situation, but probably I will do other thing. Who knows? The other thing that I want to, because I have my notes here, the other thing I want to discuss is, let me check here, the violence that keeps in the family environment, the violence, the level of violence, the level of rage that could seem normal, that could seem as the normal way of react. Because, for example, being for example, I'm a Colombian, and by the environment that I was raised, it was always taught to me that if someone hits you, even by a mistake, you once were 10 times worse, 10 times stronger. You go after that person, you hit back, you keep your proud. So this kind of teaching, being the one, be the man, being the toughest, being the strong, being the smartest, being the vicious, being the bad one, it's just raising violence and keeping violence in the environment. It's a bad teaching. Like, yeah, you have to defend yourself and put your limits and put your place. But at the same time, you cannot go and beat the shit out of someone as an answer of every situation that you are losing. That's not the way the life works. The life, sadly, is gonna make you eat shit and you cannot do anything about that. And if you do something, it could be worse. So again, it's a matter of knowing your fights, knowing what you have to do, how you have to react. But this kind of environment, this happen everywhere. This happen in every kind of country, in every kind of family. But in my case, that this, for example, is close to me, is the raising with ideas that everything has to be answered with a hit in the face. Everything has to be answered with violence and violence and violence. So you raise radical people, and that people is gonna teach the same to their kids. So yeah, that would be the second subject. The third subject is the silence as a family legacy. This involved more of the woman, of especially of back then. Still, this kind of things happen. But if you see, and this is not the only story, this is the story of 1,000 stories more probably, the woman carrying the consequences, keeping silence, taking down the head, trying to be, or when they have to be, the smart ones, and carrying the bullshit that the men or their brothers or their cousins or their fathers or their kids did. For this, again, a raising of violence. So the women have to keep the silence, the women have to go through the long, tough shit. Because, yeah, for example, in this case, Alberto probably was killed. But the one that had to run far from her mother and raise a kid by herself was the sister. And she expect the later her whole life until that she die. So the silence is a storm, it's a nightmare that most of the times, I think this is something that is going to change from my generation to the future. Has been a big change, but we look the generation of our parents, and they're ones to keep the silence, that keep the secrets, that keep the bullshit, and keep the tough things with themselves, are women.